Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, and we are following several developing stories. The Associated Press reporting that Hamas says it accepts some elements of President Trump's peace plan, but that others require further negotiation. Now, a big sticking point there was the release of all hostages. And we heard earlier today from President Trump on his Truth Social saying that he had set a deadline, an ultimatum that Hamas had to respond and accept by Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern time, of course, time there in Washington, D.C. I do want to kind of break down all of this here. So let's bring in Joe Truzman over at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much, Joe, for taking the time to be here with us and help to break it all down.
I appreciate you having me.
All right, so what do you make of, first off, the comments from President Trump saying that this ultimatum was in place, there was that deadline set, and then hours later you hear Hamas say, well, we accept some of the details of that ceasefire, but not all of them?
Right. I think President Trump did the right thing. He didn't want to give Hamas too much cushion, all right, to decide whether or not to accept this ceasefire deal that he proposed. It was the right move. Nevertheless, Hamas did respond today, thankfully, which was very important. And Hamas accepted some of the what President Trump said, or what was outlined in his ceasefire deal. But it's nothing new. And what I mean is releasing the hostages and other points. But the key detail, in my opinion here, more than anything, is obviously not just the hostages, the release of the hostages, but disarmament, Hamas's disarmament. And they did not answer that in its response today. It sidestepped the question, no answer. So to me, they effectively rejected the ceasefire, to be quite honest with you.
So what happens from here? Because as you said, they've essentially rejected the ceasefire deal by saying, well, we agree to some, we don't agree to others. Does everything kind of go back to the bargaining table, or essentially is that deadline not met and we see what happens next?
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen, Hamas, what they said today, they've effectively repeated what they've been saying for months now. They've said that they will release all the hostages. They've said that they would transfer power to a technocratic government, for example. So that's not new. Again, they didn't answer the disarmament question. So what's next here? President Trump warned what would happen, right? If Hamas didn't accept the ceasefire deal. And we're already seeing it, to be quite honest with you, right now in Gaza, where the Israelis have launched an operation, and it's already several weeks in, and that is the takeover of Gaza City, which is very important. So I expect for this operation to take over Gaza City, potentially more areas of the Gaza Strip to be conquered as well by the Israel Defense Forces. Because effectively, again, Hamas has rejected Trump's proposal here. They effectively said in the response today everything that they've, again, said before that they would do, but sidestepped the important questions. Interestingly, they didn't say no in the actual response. But again, it's a rejection, flat out. That's the way I see it.
When you talk about Hamas in general, one thing that's important to think about is they are a terrorist organization. So even if they were to accept the terms here before the deadline itself, is there any assurance that they actually hold up their end of the bargain and do what they say they're going to do?
Right. That's another issue too, right? How can you trust a terrorist organization? I think this is where it's key to have guarantors, all right, in the mediation process for Hamas. For example, Hamas has Qatar, all right, and the Egyptians. So if Egypt and Qatar can guarantee, right, that Hamas will do A, B, and C, then it gives the United States, it gives Israel a little bit more. You can trust the agreement a little more, okay? But then conversely, Hamas, the United States does that with Israel, right? If Hamas doesn't trust that Israel will, let's say, withdraw out of the Gaza Strip if there's a ceasefire deal, the United States can say, well, we guarantee that Israel will withdraw from the Gaza Strip. So in that sense, the United States will act as a guarantor. So this isn't new, and I don't think it's an issue more, the trust thing, to be quite honest with you. Again, it just goes back to what Hamas is doing here. And they're just not accepting the ceasefire deal. That's it. And that's a problem because they've been saying all along there is a so-called genocide in Gaza. Well, okay, here's a ceasefire deal to stop this so-called genocide, but they won't take it, right? They're more interested, Hamas is more interested in its survival. They don't care about Palestinian people. It's just, none of it makes sense, to be quite honest with you. The argument for genocide doesn't make sense. It's quite interesting how Hamas is reacting here. So I'm not surprised they didn't accept the ceasefire deal. And it just shows what they really care about, and that's their survival.
One thing that's interesting when you talk about this message from President Trump, the ultimatum that was put out there, does that say anything about the current status, the state of the relationship between the U.S. and Israel at this current moment, as you're seeing some of the European nations almost turn their back on Israel by saying, we're going to recognize a Palestinian state? What does this say, if anything, about the U.S.-Israel relationship?
Yeah, correct. I think it just remains strong. I think that's what President Trump is demonstrating here. This war has been going on for almost 2 years now, and the United States has been the biggest backer of Israeli operations, especially during the Trump administration. So, and I think that is continuing. And again, I think the Trump administration should take this Hamas's response as a rejection and continue backing Israel as far as what it needs to do in the Gaza Strip. And unfortunately, here Hamas has squandered a significant opportunity to stop the war, and unburden Palestinians that are caught in this war, and Israelis too, of course. They haven't done it. So I think we're going to see continued cooperation between the United States and Israel. May see increased cooperation between the United States and Israel when it comes to Hamas and what may lay ahead in this war. But unfortunately, I don't think the war in the Gaza Strip is going to end anytime soon with Hamas's rejection of Trump's ceasefire plan.